Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. You know, sometimes boxing throws up a result. You just have to shake your head and say, oh, I didn't see that coming. And so it is with Filip Hrgovic, who squeaks past Zhilei Zhang, probably pronounced his name wrong, of China. Croatia's Hrgovic wins a very close decision. I never ever would have thought this fight would go the distance. I honestly believed before the fight that Hrgovic was going to flatten Zhilei Zhang in about 4 rounds. That would have been my prediction. Not a bit of it. In the opening round, Hrgovic seemed to be winning using his superior skills. Zhilei Zhang hits very, very hard. A southpaw, very awkward fighter. But Hrgovic was controlling him. He hadn't really fully found his rhythm, but suddenly Zhang fires. Was it a right hand? Even though it was a southpaw, I think it was a right hand that caught him on the Hrgovic right behind the ear. It wasn't quite on the back of that; it was behind the ear, and Hrgovic went down, didn't complain, and the referee called it a knockdown. And there's a 10-8 round for you for Zhang. So that's the first shocker. In the second or third round, there was a clash of heads. It looked like a headbutt rather than an accidental clash of heads, or I don't know, maybe I'm a bit unkind there, but Zhang had a cut which was minor, which was controlled throughout the fight, more or less between his eyes, or perhaps on his forehead, a little bit on the base of his forehead. Hrgovic had a scalp wound, and of course if you've ever cut your scalp, you know that it bleeds quite profusely. It was running down the side of his face, it wasn't running into his eyes, so not really a problem. A bit of blood flying around, but hazards of the job. But there's no doubt that although Hrgovic clearly had the better schooling, the superior skills, he was finding the southpaw stance quite difficult to fathom. And there's no doubt he was there to be hit, which was it a little bit surprising? You see, I've always thought Hrgovic is a little bit overrated. I'm not saying he's a bad fighter by any stretch of the imagination. And like I say, I did pick him to flatten Zhang, but I've never seen him on the back foot. I've never seen his reaction when he's pushed back. I've never seen him hit cleanly. I've never seen him tested, in other words. And as crude and as lumbering and as, I say lumbering, physically his footwork is slow, Zhang. But his hands are relatively quick for a man of that size. He doesn't look in great shape. He's got a bit of a spare tyre around his middle. But he was landing the left cross as a southpaw, and he was landing jabs. He was using both his hands very, very well. And he was too sparse with his work. Hrgovic was outworking him for long periods of rounds. But when Zhang let his hands go, he was landing. And I think it was the 5th round, he really did land with some power punches, and he stung Hrgovic. Hrgovic, at the end of it was the 5th round, I think. At the end of the 5th round, I didn't like the look of his body language at all, and I thought, is he being exposed by Zhilei Zhang? I mean, I think Hrgovic, like I say, there was always a question mark over his head, but I never ever thought Zhilei Zhang would be the man to really test him. Well, he did test him, and after 6 rounds, I had Zhang winning. Of course, it's a 12-round fight, eliminator. IBF eliminator, I think it was. So, the second half of the fight, clearly Hrgovic has to do something. But, even though I think he won, he was kind of let off the hook after that 5th round, after he was stung, because Zhang sort of didn't put his foot on the gas. Hrgovic came back. But then I think it was the 8th round, he got hurt again by Zhang. And once again, his body language was poor. He didn't quite turn his back, but he sort of moved sideways, let his hands down. I think it was at the end of I want to say the end of the 8th round, 7th or 8th round. And the bell, I don't think the bell didn't save him, but he was glad to hear that bell, Hrgovic was. But once again, Zhang took his foot off the gas, and for some reason, I don't know whether it was a stamina thing for Zhang, but he just didn't turn the screw. He didn't, you know, jump on Hrgovic. And he allowed Hrgovic to sort of creep back into it. Or maybe not creep back into it, but get back into it big time. And I just thought that it was a missed opportunity for Zhang, because the last 3 rounds, I thought Hrgovic came on quite strong. And there was no doubt that Hrgovic was outworking Zhang for huge periods of the round. Even the rounds that you felt, because of the heavy hands, Zhang won. There were, you know, pockets of those rounds where Hrgovic was doing the better work. Hrgovic had the better footwork, but he was hittable. I don't know, maybe it was the southpaw the southpaw stance that just got to him. I really can't put my foot. I mean, I'm making this video immediately after watching the fight. I'll have to watch it back, but I don't really have a problem with the... I mean, the scorecards were very close. I don't really have a problem with the decision, because I think Hrgovic probably did... If you let's put it this way, if you talk about 36 minutes of fighting, which is 12 rounds, I think Hrgovic won more of those minutes. Off the top of my head, I'd say he probably won 20, 22 of those minutes. And even though he hit the floor, I think you can make a case for him winning. You know, I can't remember what the scorecards were. They were very, very thin, very narrow, but you can give it to Hrgovic by a point, maybe 2 points. If you had it a draw with the knockdown, it makes it an odd number, doesn't it? So it's probably not going to be a draw. But if you'd given it to Zhang by a point, I think the American commentator Chris Maddox, I think his name is, he gave it to Hrgovic to Zhang by a point. I don't really have a problem with this. You would think that a rematch would be excellent, an excellent idea, but it won't happen. Hrgovic will be looking for a title fight. I think to some degree he was exposed slightly, but having been through this 12 rounds, I think he may be better mentally. He admitted after the fight, during the post-fight interview, you know, his father had passed away. He did it for his memory. He paid tribute to his wife and, you know, how she supported him through his bereavement. But he also said, Zhang is a better fighter than I thought. And that implies that he took him slightly lightly. Slightly lightly. Poetin didn't know it, again. But I think he may have learned from that. And he may now, next time, be better prepared. He had the problems with his father dying. And I know it's a terrible thing, the bereavement is, and it can affect you. But he scraped through this gruelling fight. And I can't tell you how surprised I am that Zhang did so well. Zhang, there's nothing fancy about him. He may be an Olympic silver medalist. He's big, he's powerful, he moves forward. He lumbers a bit, but with his hands he doesn't. It's a weird thing. It's like, you know, Andy Ruiz, he's a big fat lump, but his hands are really fast and they move well and he's got good combinations. I wouldn't put Zhang in the same category by any means. But he does have good hands, and they're basic punches, southpaw stance. Big guy, puts pressure on you. He's a handful. And also, let's not forget that Zhang went through the fire once previously with Jerry Forrest and almost lost that fight. And he was hospitalised and everything. So maybe that experience made him a better fighter, made him focus more and so on. Maybe Hrgovic now, having been through 12 rounds of a grueling, draining 12 rounds, maybe he would have learned a lot psychologically, mentally, and he'll understand about going the full distance. He'll understand about pacing yourself. He'll understand about working through little miniature crises. He'll be a better fighter, I think. Would he beat Usyk, Fury? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Zhang wouldn't either, but no, I don't think he's that good. But he can improve from this, and he can go on with his career. So I thought it was a very entertaining back and forth fight. Very, very surprised that it went the distance. I never would have believed that, but hey, there you go. I'm just very, very, very impressed with Hrgovic's fortitude. He was asked a lot of questions in this fight, and he kind of answered them. But at the same time, you do think if that had been someone better than Zhang in there with more technique, would he have got him out of there? Quite possibly he would have done, because at times Hrgovic's body language was terrible. But next time, having been through the fire, having learned, maybe he'll be better. You know, this is how you learn. What did you think of the fight? Leave your comments below. As always, we've got the big fight, Joshua versus Usyk, coming up next. I hope it's as entertaining as this one. Maybe that'll go the distance and all. I don't know, split decision or something. Yeah, leave your comments below. Thanks for listening, as always. Leave your subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments. Hit the like button. It's all good. Big fight next. I'll be reviewing it. Keep your eyes open. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Thank you very much. Take care.